Is it just me, or did we just watch the best episode of The Summer I Turned Pretty? Because, let's be honest, there are very few things better than watching Belly from the perspective of Conrad. And yes, I loved every single second of it. That being said, this was the last time that we will ever get to see the two together, alone, almost as a couple, because the wedding is on the corner. And even though Conrad will do his last attempt to stop everything, Belly is now at the point of no return. So, without further ado, let's talk about The Summer I Turned Pretty, Episode 6. In Episode 5, we entered into Conrad's mind. Throughout episode, we watched Belly and her relationship with Jeremiah through Conrad's eyes. This was not only stylistically impressive, but also quite illuminating in terms of getting the entire situation. Because so far, we saw what Belly thinks, what Jeremiah thinks, and how Conrad reacts to them. And even though Conrad's face expressions alone are enough to get he is suffering, it was very helpful to hear his inner voice to realize his dilemma and struggles. In Episode 5, we saw that Conrad is not only upset, but also in a constant fight with himself, trying to keep himself from being more upfront with Belly, approaching her, and expressing his love for her. And if you have ever been in love, you know very well that it is almost an impossible task to not shout out your loved one's name at all times. Keep your hand off of them and be all around them. So, I think Conrad is once again a very relatable character that we can all see ourselves in. Except for the fact that I doubt most of us have fallen in love with our brother's fiancé. But let's not get into that right now. We also saw in this episode that Conrad and Belly were actually quite intimate before everything fell apart. And Conrad keeps holding on to those memories, even though he knows he should let them go. Now, I don't know if you'd agree with me, but I feel like Conrad is suffering from the big sibling syndrome. Since Susanna made him promise to take care of Jeremiah, he thinks that it is his responsibility as a big brother to let his brother have everything. Thus, he prioritizes Jeremiah's desires over his own, which is, again, very understandable, but also not the healthiest approach for anyone's psyche. For instance, it is implied that Conrad took his loving words to Belly back in Season 2 because he felt like Jeremiah would be upset if Belly chose her. And to me, this is unfair to not only Conrad himself, but also Belly, whose entire life was Conrad up until that point. By acting this way, Conrad basically took Belly's agency away and pushed her to Jeremiah, which made me really mad. In Episode 6, we will see Conrad struggling with his duties as a co-best man. He will go back to California for his new internship. There, he will open up to Agnes about his experiences with Belly and the cousins. He will talk about how he felt like she was actually marrying him, and for a second hope that she will change her mind. Agnes will get very upset with him, as she will point out that acting this way does more harm than favor to any one of them. She will urge him to make a final decision, either to skip the wedding and focus on having a new life there, or to go to the wedding to have a one last genuine conversation with Belly regarding his feelings. After long deliberations, Conrad will choose the second option, deciding that for once, he will be open with Belly no matter what. And yet, when he goes to Cousins to face her, Taylor will be there, realizing that Conrad aims to confuse Belly one last time. Taylor, who is already fed up with Conrad's previous treatment of Belly, will do her best to stop him. She will remind him of his previous actions, how much he dismissed Belly, and how much he hurt her for years. She will say that it is too late now to remember how much Belly matters to him. She will also say that it is unfair to confuse her right before her wedding. Conrad will feel defeated once again after this conversation, deciding to step back and be there as a brother and brother alone. In the meantime, Belly and Jeremiah will struggle with their own problems. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've always assumed that Conrad was the one that was similar to their father, while Jeremiah was mostly taking after their mother, Susanna, not only in terms of their physical appearance, but also in terms of their character. However, this season, especially as of Episode 5, I think we started to realize that the reality is actually the exact opposite, at least character-wise. Jeremiah's internship at his father's company revealed a different side of him, a more business-savvy, dare I say, capitalist side. I mean, the cheating scandal was already a clue on his resemblance to his father when it comes to his nature. There were other, smaller hints spread across the season as well. For instance, in the memorial dinner, we saw him ordering the same, very expensive meal that his father ordered, despite knowing that Laurel will pay for everything. He also has cares so much about flashy things, such as glazed cacao cakes, over the real substance of the wedding. Plus, he clearly has no financial literacy and speaks from a very privileged place whenever he opens his mouth. And yet, despite all these reveals, I have to admit, his tendency to prioritize business and business connections over everything, including Belly, is something new. In episode 5, he revealed that Mr. Fisher is willing to pay for the wedding. He wants to have it at a club, and he wants to invite his business associates to turn this into a networking opportunity. And in Jeremiah's mind, this is the greatest news ever. For Belly, however, this is a very big red flag. So far, she has been the queen of overlooking red flags, including the cheating. But in episode 6, things will start to disturb her for real, as he truly dislikes Mr. Fisher, and realizing that she is basically marrying a version of him will drive her crazy. So no, Conrad won't be the one who confuses her right before the wedding, but her concerns over Jeremiah's resemblance to Mr. Fisher will cause her to have second thoughts. And honestly, my praise are for her to finally realize she deserves better. But let me know what you think about all these. For more weekly updates, analysis, and discussions on The Summer I Turned Pretty, make sure to like and follow. Meanwhile, the video on the screen might also interest you.